Hi, everyone, and welcome to Astrology, Symbolism, and Myth. My name is Denise Ross, and I'm your host for this intriguing new series. Each month, I interview a different astrologer who lets us know the upcoming astrological forecast. But in addition to the monthly forecast, we always go a bit deeper. We discuss how astrology can help us become more aware of our own psyches. We talk about the various symbols, the mythology, and the archetypes that help us define our lives. And hopefully, through this show, you come away with an expanded view of astrology and how it can be interpreted and used. Today, our guest is Kathy Biehl. She is joining us via Skype from New Jersey. Kathy has pursued astrology since her junior high school years. She has studied formally at the Houston Institute of Astrology in numerous workshops with leading astrologers across the country. And in addition to this, she is an attorney, a freelance writer, and a performing artist. She's very diverse, very articulate, and she has a fabulous sense of humor. So let's say hello and welcome to my friend, Kathy Biehl. Kathy, thanks so much for joining me. And how are you today? And what are we going to be talking about? And
I'm great today, and I have got scads of pieces of paper in front of me. So you just point me in a direction and ask a question, and we'll go.
All right, that sounds good. Why don't we start with the forecast for September? What are we going to be looking at? What are the high points that September is going to have for everyone?
September is a major gear shift month. As we get into it more and more, we will feel a sense of life being different than it has been for the past 3 years or so. There's a sense of things starting to calm down, things starting to make sense, things starting to stabilize. Now, I'm not saying by that there isn't still going to be upheaval and turmoil and a lot of craziness, but we're moving out of our foundations being blown up or imploded beneath our feet and starting to figure out we've already been starting to figure out what we're going to do about it, but now the cleanup and the rebuilding gets real. There's an extremely strong atmosphere of back to work, back to school, detox, sobering up, the party's over. I have lots of phrases for it. And it's not just because we are going back to school and back to work. It is because Jupiter, the planet of expansion, has entered the sign of Virgo for the first time in 12 years. He'll be there through September of 2016. And as he moves through this sign, he makes major contacts with a number of other big influences in the sky. And one of them happens this month, and that is the first of the two eclipses in the month. So we have a major planet changing cycles, encouraging us all to clean up. In fact, I have a video about Jupiter and Virgo where I basically use cleaning my house as a teaching moment for what Jupiter and Virgo is about. So that'll be in place at the fall equinox, and right before the fall equinox, we have the first of the eclipses of the fall, which is in the sign of Virgo.
Yikes.
So that'll still be resonating when the equinox rolls around on the 23rd. And this eclipse is the second one in the Virgo Pisces cycle. It started this year in the spring. It is bringing things around again from 97 and 98. And there is a reboot or a resetting forward motion in all areas of life where Virgo falls in your chart. Okay. But it will have a lot to do with resetting boundaries, rethinking, reorganizing, turning things back into something sane. In October, Jupiter is going to make an easy aspect to one of the two cosmic change agents, Pluto, one of the two planets that's been causing all the turmoil of the past 3 years. And we'll be feeling that building this month as Jupiter, the planet of expansion, is beaming into deep level shape-shifting and metamorphosis, but also building new structures. That's a few of the things, and there's more. Venus, the planet that rules what we desire, relationships, creativity, money, or what we value, has been retrograde since the middle of July. She starts the month of September in a conjunction with her cosmic lover Mars in the mid degrees of Leo, helping us fuse in fire, in loyal fire, fixed fire. So this is a stable influence, helping us fuse inside of us an awareness of what it is we really want and the drive and the courage to go out and get it. So it's a massive fusing of the male and the female impulses within each of us. It will also play out as some relationship developments, I guess is a nice way to put it. And that will be going on that week, or that's the first. At the end of the week, she goes direct and she stops the retrograde. So that's part of the status report on what the Venus retrograde meant for us. That's always a time, and at the end of the summer, this year it was, of revisiting what was important to us in the past. People from the past show up, things that we once thought were important, old friends, things with money situations float through our mind. We run across them, we run into them, and there's a sorting. There can be a wistfulness, there can be a realization of, oh, I'm glad that's gone. There can be a reconnecting and a desire to take it forward. I've been seeing this as massive soul retrieval, finding parts of ourselves from across the timeline and fusing that together, and then early in September, moving forward with that kind of recommitted within ourselves. And that's still not the end of what is happening in September.
Nice.
So do you want to ask, I'll give you one more piece and you can tell me what you want to explore more. Actually,
Okay.
2 more pieces. Mercury goes retrograde, okay, 3 or 4 times a year.
Wow.
Communication. It's an optical illusion. It looks like it's traveling backwards when viewed from our planets because of a change in the relative orbital speed. And Mercury retrogrades are always a time to pay more attention to communication and how we get around. It's also a time when technology tends to go fluey, when people misunderstand each other, when stuff goes astray, when you end up in a traffic jam when there was no reason to think it would be there. You start out driving in one direction and you come to and realize that you've gone to a different city. Very strange things happened under a Mercury retrograde, and it will be retrograde starting on the 17th. So it'll be through the month. Won't go direct until into October. So Mercury will be retrograde at the equinox, meaning that that energy will be part of the chart and still carry with us through the rest of the fall. It will be retrograde in the sign of Libra, which has to do with relationships. I've already mentioned relationships. So we will be revisiting and thinking about and refining in our minds things that we've recently experienced, discovered, encountered. It's like we get constant review sessions these days. And even that's not all of it.
Oh, wow. Oh, my gosh.
One more eclipse on the 27th, a lunar eclipse, which ends things. And this is the final eclipse in a cycle on the relationship axis. Yeah. Aries, Libra eclipses, which started last year, and they have been helping us reset and shut down a lot of things having to do with what we have accepted in relationships, what we believe to be true about what happens between people. And this is a replay of 95 to 97. Mm-hmm. And there will be a major sense of, again, relationships of, okay, I've come to the end of the line in certain ways that I'm seeing things, certain things I'm putting up with. The final eclipse will be in Aries, so it'll be very individuating. Me.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was like in 30 seconds. What do you want me to elaborate on? What are you curious about?
Let's start by elaborating on this Jupiter into Virgo, because that one's going to last. That's going to be with us for quite some time. And so, what is that going to mean generally? Maybe give us a little bit more of like the symbolism of Virgo and Jupiter itself. And when these two come together, what we have to look forward to the coming year, because again, that's with us. I mean, I loved it when Jupiter was in Leo this last year. It's like,
Oh, yeah.
yes. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. It was, the creativity and the fun and things. Just for me, it seemed to lighten up. And now this may be true or not, but the Virgo, everybody thinks it's very meticulous. It is. It's that down to work. It's what you do on a day-to-day basis. Is this going to burst everybody's little bubble, or what will we see the next year?
The image I came up with for this earlier in the summer was, it'll be like 1 minute we're sitting around partying and the next minute we're crawling on our hands and knees looking for our sunglasses and our car keys. Jupiter, okay, let's start with it. Jupiter is an expansive influence. He's the head god.
Right,
He's the guy in charge. He can do whatever he wants. And if you know from mythology, Jupiter had no compunctions about fulfilling his appetites. If one wasn't enough, no. I call him the more influence. Bigger is better. He ups the ante of any action he gets near. Mm-hmm. Interestingly, between now and the equinox, and I don't have the exact date, unfortunately, he's going to be meeting with the asteroid Juno, who is his mate, the female power that matches and blocks and counters him. Juno represents the marriage partner, and the one that kind of holds the trump card. And I'm so sorry I used that word, but the card that wins. So again, relationships, we're going to be thinking quite a bit about perfecting, analyzing, being discerning about boundaries between people and how we go about things. So pause button, one long-standing process that we have been in for several years has been rewriting our relationship rule books so that we are not so much thinking in advance of, I got to do this to get the other person, or I have to posture myself this way, but instead getting much more honest about what we want and who we really are, and conveying ourselves with greater honesty and resonance, and with much less of an inclination to put up with stuff simply to keep a relationship alive, much greater awareness of reciprocity. This is bringing more power into what happens between two people. There's more of an honesty, and there's more of an ability and an innate starting point of this is who I am, this is what I can give, this is what I need, this is what I need in return. Do you have it? Oh, okay. You can do this, you can't do that. I'm not going to be mad at you because you can't do that. Mm-hmm. And maybe this is what, redefining what relationships are. So I think this is part of the process, interestingly, with this. Now, that's a good segue into Virgo. Virgo is the intellectual earth sign. It's the earth sign that's ruled by Mercury, so it brings a contemplative, chewing experience to everything. Virgo looks at any given situation from a point of view, what can make it into absolute Felix Unger territory, being a fuss budget, looking at not just the glass is half empty, but, there's a chip in the glass. I need to fix this, or, oh my God, it's dirty, or, I don't even like this glass, putting it away. So what I've been telling people with this is to look at it in terms of the glass can be replaced. The glass can be refilled. If you find yourself looking at, that's not quite right, use Jupiter's expansive properties to say, how can I make this better? Mm-hmm. Not picking it to death that there's a chip in the glass. So that's kind of a segue. Virgo is so interested in self-improvement. There's an interest in health, in doing things in a more efficient way, in a more organized way, in a more effective way. And boundaries are an ongoing issue with Virgo. One thing that is integral to the Virgo Pisces eclipses, which we'll be feeling this month, is the dichotomy between being intact in yourself and complete immersion in the human experience. Virgo on one end, Pisces awareness with an immersion in the all on the other end. So we'll be focusing more and more this month, hitting the reset button on ground rules that we have. The little magic circle we've drawn around ourselves and how intact that is. The adage of good fences make good neighbors comes to mind with this. And all of this, I'm going to encourage people to think about how different the world has started feeling since the middle of August. More and more and more an awareness of, well, that's a mess. Well, I think I'll clean this up. Well, I'll take care of that. And you'll find that the more that you address the lingering, annoying clutter piles in your own life, like, oh, I'm going to tidy my kitchen today. Oh, nope, going to deal with that, going to deal with that. The more your thinking is going to start doing the same thing. One big issue that goes with this, which I will also alert people to, is increased awareness of what you're consuming. Oh. So detox, which has been the big fad for the last few years, even bigger. If there is stock in either NutriBullet or Vitamix, I would buy it because those things are going to be really, really trendy, but not just physically. Paying attention more and more, since it is ruled by Mercury, to what you're consuming with your mind, what's happening in social media. I've been on a tear of unfollowing people on Facebook. If one person, one too many times puts something really disturbing in my feed, they go. Like I don't care. I don't care if they're really close to me. They go out of my feed because it's important to pay attention to what we are habitually exposing ourselves to and be discerning about that. And you'll notice more and more that your outlook will become more positive, Jupiter, and expand and become healthier, Virgo, if you are discerning and mindful, Virgo, about what your media diet is and the conversation topics that you have with people on a regular basis. There may be certain things that you just decide at this point in your life you cannot afford. It is too dangerous. It's like eating a piece of food that you are incredibly allergic to, the reaction that it will have to your whole energy system. Wow. So be incredibly vigilant about mental boundaries and emotional boundaries as well with all of this. That can be amazingly beneficial on a long-term basis. And that really kicks in this month, and especially with the solar eclipse on the 12th or 13th, depending on where you are. A solar eclipse, any eclipse, causes the sky to go black, which means things can change. Things leave. I equate a solar eclipse to the lights going out at the end of a scene or an act on stage, and the stage crew scurrying in, moving the set around, and new characters walking on. The lights gradually come on, and you look and go, oh, this is what's here. And then you move forward, always forward motion. A solar eclipse can take 6 to 9 months to play out. So between now and March, we'll be seeing the playing out of these new boundaries, these new ways of thinking about things. And remember, Jupiter does whatever he wants. So moving from your own health and your own best interest ends up benefiting or affecting, but will end up benefiting everyone. Okay. So no more just deciding for yourself, oh, I have to do this because this is my child, or this is my spouse, or, oh, this is my boyfriend, I have to do this for him. And then being pissy and resentful that they are not appreciating what you have, this glorious sacrifice you've just made for them. Stop it.
Right. Okay, so now with the two eclipses, we have the solar and then the lunar, and the signs that they're in. And then right in the middle of that, we get Mercury going retrograde. I mean, it's between...
Yes, Mercury goes retrograde, and then we have the equinox.
And the equinox. So between that, what is a 2-week period, what can we expect within those 2 weeks?
Well, a sense of now we start rethinking or maybe not rethinking so much, but there's a get serious feeling to it because in the middle of that, Saturn moves into Sagittarius.
Does Saturn go forward?
Yeah, well, Sag is already moving
forward, but it's been
slides into.
Okay, well, I'm going to be really glad to see Saturn get out of Pluto. It hasn't made me happy. So to see Saturn go into Sag, that's fabulous. So yeah, we can talk a little bit about that too, what that's going to mean for everyone.
It'll still be in, it's at the last gasp of Scorpio at the Virgo eclipse, and by the equinox, it's at 0 Sag.
Oh, right on the equinox. Fabulous.
Well, it'll just have moved into it. I should have an exact date for you, but with these things, you start feeling them and then they're there. Yeah. Saturn is another major cycle. It's the planet, the influence of order and structure and rules and the status quo. And on a personal level, Saturn's the guy who wants you to eat your vegetables, go to bed early, take care of yourself, pay your bills, dress up when you go to church, and go to church. When Saturn moves into Sagittarius, Saturn moved into Sagittarius on the 23rd of December last year. Yeah. And then at the end of May, it scooched back into Scorpio for the summer to give us the opportunity to clean up loose ends from 2013 to 2014, having to do with reciprocity in a big way and the big scary stuff we don't like to think about. Debt, intimacy, sharing, sex, death, taxes, that sort of thing. As he moves, when he then gets into Sag, it's a very strong feeling of the mid-'80s are back.
Oh, really?
And he entered Sagittarius in 1985.
Okay.
And Saturn in Sagittarius will, on a big level, for everyone, it has to do with, I think, a reality check about what you believe to be true, what your life philosophy is, and how well that you're actually living it or not living it. We will see the impact of theories on actual life. So policy could be part of this. It does have to do with political theory, with the political system, with the legal system, with big media, with our attitude toward and relationship to people, places, and things foreign to us. Notice long distance travel, but notice that immigration is
absolutely. And how about higher education as well?
Yes.
I'm hoping this will be the time when, as a nation, we kind of look at this higher education and education in general and hopefully make some changes in those realms.
Well, we'll be seeing the real intangible impact of what we say we want and whether it's really there or not. Now, on a personal level, there will be a long path for the next couple of years of being shown where there is a disconnect between what you think to be true and how you actually live. Like and to take responsibility for the worldview that you espouse. All right, you might notice that in big media there is an element of, I'll just be judgmental, recklessness about a certain level of rhetoric that is rampant these days, and I think we will be seeing people being called to task for the real world ramifications of incendiary talk and very sudden reckless talk.
Right.
What really happens when you say various things.
Yeah.
Taking responsibility for the theories that you build about how the world works based on all the data that you take in is a big issue. So that'll be infused in the equinox chart because Saturn will have just moved. Just recently moved into Sag. So a bunch of things causing us to become aware of what we say, what we think, and the ramifications of thoughts flying around. So an emphasis on healthiness of thoughts, of healthiness of boundaries. Ooh, sounds like borders, doesn't it?
Uh-huh.
But there's just a lot of different ways coming at it with a big relationship twist to the whole mix, with the Aries lunar eclipse bringing to a close a previous way of how we relate to people, previous chapter in our agreements, our ground rules. This is the month where we finally feel like life is really different. We've had moments the past 3 years of, this is not the world. Mama told me, even my mama did not tell me there would be days like this. Like, this is too strange. And now we stop and we realize, okay, the game really is different. It's permanently different. What are we going to do about it? This is the month of moving into, what are we going to do about it?
Right. Yeah. So there's, it just seems like those last 2.5 weeks of September are going to be very, very intense and set us all on a new road, a new path, different direction.
It's something that's already been building and brewing. Maybe there will be more of an element of awareness of it, awareness of what's already there, and seeing there is definitely a focusing and an efficiency. So instead of doing 15 things, maybe doing 10, maybe doing 7, maybe bringing your definition of your world into a smaller focus, tighter focus, and then going forward on that.
Okay. And with the eclipse, the one with I think it's the Aries Libra, so about relationships, but this can be relationships. It may not necessarily be with people. It depends on where this falls in your chart. Is that correct? I mean, it could be the relationship you have with money. It could be the relationship at work. It could be relationship with animals. Is that true or not true?
That's an element of it, but there is also how you deal with people in those areas. That's a part of it. So if it's happening across your money axis, your money and somebody else's money, or your joint money, there will be a change in the way that you approach things, the change in the agreements that you make involving those things, and people are involved in those.
Okay, that makes sense. So with whatever area, people are still going to be involved in it because of the Libra, and then it's you personally because of the Aries.
Right, there's some point in that. And that is happening with Mercury retrograde in Libra, so there is possibly confusion. There's possibly learning things you didn't know. It's a good time to go back over. I do want to slide that in with a Mercury retrograde. There are people who could go, I have to go to bed for 3 weeks. No,
I know.
Life must continue. But it's a good time to take anything in your life and stick the 2 letters R-E in front of the verb. So go back, rethink, investigate, reorganize, finish old business. So if there's something that you've needed to be saying with someone, something you've needed to set up differently, something you've needed to clean up with another person, this is a really good time to do it.
So those are the positives of the Mercury retrograde. Again, we always look at the negative, but Mercury retrograde is just, it gives you time to, as you say, rethink, look at things a different way. If you've always done the same way, this way, it's given you time to switch it up a little bit and maybe have a different perspective.
Right, absolutely. And with Jupiter in Virgo, you're already going to be looking at things in a slightly, like, how can this be better way?
Well, hopefully. That's what we're telling people. This is what we want them to.
Well, there are some people who are going to go overboard on, ooh, that's wrong, ooh, that's wrong. Well, when you see that, thank you.
Yeah.
I have a friend that just spent a month in Los Angeles with a bunch of people who, if she had a bad experience somewhere and dared voice it, they'd go, love and light, with this undercurrent. That's become our new buzz phrase for annoying and correcting language.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. Okay. And so let's see, with, is there anything else in September that we need to know? I mean, again, the big one is Virgo and Jupiter, and the eclipses are going to be major. It's a busy month, and Mercury retrograde on top of it. Saturn's going forward.
It is a busy month. what I want to clarify about eclipses is, although there can be very sudden events that occur right around them, particularly on a collective scale, these are not events. It's not like a switch flips and it's a one-day thing, or you wake up and go, oh, there's a solar eclipse in my chart today. Probably it takes a while to play it out.
Okay. Okay. That's good to know.
It must go on for quite a while. So, don't phone me on September 14th and say, nothing happened to me on the 12th and the 13th. Well, some reorientation did, and probably you hit the power up in the Mario Kart game and on an inner level, or something in your life rearranged itself, and you will be shooting in a direction. It might just take you a while to see it.
And it might be one of those hindsights. 4 months, you look back and it's like, oh, okay. It just time gives you a little perspective to look back. Again, the hindsight. Yeah.
And September will be a month that, in retrospect, we'll look back and go, whoa, that was the gateway, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That was the gateway.
Right. Yeah. We need to get some mileage on us before we can put it in perspective. So. Great. Anything else you want to say about September before we dive in to have some fun with politics?
Yeah, let me look at the equinox chart very quickly. There are two things. Actually, a couple of things I want to mention about it. There is a sense of fatedness, or we are now on a path that's going to stick with us for a while, and it sears in a new or a different way of going about things in relationships. And as we get into the a few days later with the Aries lunar eclipse, there is a sense of the new internal paradigm for what we want in a partner and how we want the partnership to go. Playing, and so that's kind of in the offing with the equinox chart, because it'll be strong in a couple of days. There is a possibility in the equinox chart. It holds the possibility of rootedness, of groundedness, of our thinking clarifying and kind of sobering up and getting a little calmer and more mature about how we want to go ahead and do some things. So even though there are aspects to it that are going to continue a sense of stuff being out of our control and new things breaking out with the being in the middle of two eclipses, there is a sense of we're looking at things in a more realistic way or a more grounded way, or figuring out how we can bring our insights and our changes into something that actually affects our daily life and the playing out of our relationships.
Okay, and with these relationships, they can be romantic relationships, they can be sibling relationships, they can be business relationships,
right?
But any type of relationship. So we've got to keep our eyes open, or our perception and our radars up about what relationships we're possibly struggling in during that time, and pay special attention to that?
Well, we could start to feel that our approach to the whole topic, has well and truly moved into a new arena, that we're renegotiating and restructuring our social contract.
Okay, and especially, and again, with the Mercury retrograde, so some people that may come back into your life that you had a certain type of relationship, and now things have just completely shifted, and it's us that has shifted.
Right. And after, when we shift,
everything shifts. Exactly.
Everything shifts. Yeah.
Right.
Well, when part of the system undergoes a change, the rest of the system rearranges itself to make room for the change.
Right. Okay. That makes sense. Absolutely.